Willkommen beim Party.San 2018. Ich habe mir Erik von WATAIN geschnappt, um mal reinzuhören. Die spielen ja immerhin schon das 5. Mal jetzt hier. Welcome, Erik. It's already the 5th time that you play here at Party.San.
5th?
Yeah.
Okay,
Does it feel familiar already to be here?
Is it really the 5th?
Yeah,
it
I
could
looked
be.
it up.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, in a way, but I think it's the second time we're at this area. So I think the first 3 times then was probably was at the other place. No, but it's great. I mean, the people who run it are real diehards, and it's people that we know a bit personally as well. It's like it's very uncomplicated. They welcome us to do pretty much. They know what they are getting themselves into by bringing us, and that's. In this day and age, that's a pretty big privilege.
I can imagine.
For both sides, I would say. Yeah.
I can imagine. And today on stage, it's not new. It's Hampus from old school death metal band DEGIAL, and he already helped you out several times in the past. Does he? I mean, I had already a video interview, a normal interview with him, so I can imagine that he shares like the same visions, the same spirits as WATAIN, and fits for this quite well on stage with you.
Well, I mean, Hampus is from our hometown, and we've known each other at least since he was pretty young. We were still kind of young. No, but we've known each other for many years, and what can I say? I mean, we would never bring anyone into the picture that is not relevant for the task, And Hampus he belongs to the unique little race of people that are just total diehards, and exactly. That have black and death metal running in their blood, and they are not easy to find. So yeah, we're lucky to have him with us. Absolutely.
And I have the feeling that DEGIAL nowadays do something similar than as WATAIN did in the 90s, because it seemed that you did the opposite of what everyone else was doing during that time.
Yeah, I can see your point. I mean, I can only talk about DEGIAL from an outside perspective, and I mean, they're exactly the kind of rebels that a death metal band needs to be. In any day and age, it doesn't matter when. You need to find your own sound, your own path, and that's exactly what they did. I consider them one of the few really interesting death metal bands of this day and age.
Yeah, me too. And is it true that back in these days when you were a teenager, you moved and lived in a rehearsal room together with CRASHDIET-Sänger Dave Lepard?
Oh, yeah, that was a long time ago. But yeah, Dave was a very good friend of ours, and kind of, I would say, like, in a way, quite formative, in how WATAIN was in that particular time. He was a real hellraiser in the true sense of the word, and he kind of dragged us into it. He was very good like that. He was not afraid of anything. And he showed us that kind of attitude can get you pretty far. And an interesting fact is that the same rehearsal place that you're talking about is now kind of back in our hands, or at least back in our circle of people in Uppsala. So we kind of remade it into what it looked like back then, and we have some shows there every now and then, and it's a place full of very intense memories.
I can believe, because of course you also made music together, and it's I read that it's the chorus of Devil's Blood also happened in that time.
Yeah, they brought that particular riff for the Devil's Blood, which is if people who don't know who Dave was, and they just know him from CRASHDIET or whatever, they would maybe find that a bit weird. But he was a real black metal maniac, in so many ways. Yeah, I mean, he was, some of his favorite bands were absolutely black and death metal bands, and way more devoted, I would say, than a lot of young kids at that time who were into the same kind of music. So yeah, I mean, he had a great musical talent, and he he wrote music kind of for all genres, you know. I've heard him play reggae better than anyone else, you know. I mean, stuff like that. He was just a wellspring of ideas and good fucking ideas, you know. But yeah, then life goes on, and sometimes it doesn't. You know.
Yeah, unfortunately, he decided to end his life. Just like also, for example, Selim, who was a good friend of yours. How do you deal with this kind of losses? I mean, of course, life is duality. Life means always life and death. It means day and night. But how do you deal with?
That's a little bit too much of a private matter for a backstage room at the festival. But you deal with it, you know, whether you want it or not. That's pretty much all I can say about that right now.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.